Okay. All right. I'm going to just make this one for a couple minutes. I'm really intrigued about this. The fact that the series is just gone. And we're sitting here kind of thinking about it. Like, what the heck happened here? uh, Bebop on Netflix was canceled not even a month after it came out. A 44% critical rating. And, fans, there were some new viewers who came in and they thought it was fine. And again, I don't disagree with that take. I think it's passable. If you've never seen the original, you have no idea about it. It's passable for like a Saturday night binge, whatever, you know, but they failed. Now, look, I want to start by saying this. I don't wish ill will to the actual like staff members of this team who were just doing their job, right? The people I have problem with are the executives and the higher managers, basically the directors and writers who led this charge to make a rom-com like bullshit replacement to the original. The way I look at it is this. They said, fuck philosophy and fuck self-discovery. Who cares about the why are we alive question? Who cares about that shit? Let's throw in like my ex-lover. My ex-lover versus why am I living? Which one is more interesting and compelling? Which one do you hear all the time? And which one makes you ask much deeper questions about who you are and why you live in this world, right? These characters in the original, they were asking that question constantly. And it was done in a way that was artful. The antagonists that you would see, there are some moments like Sympathy for the Devil, where Spike kills a kid, a man trapped in a kid's body, a man who can't age due to the gate crash. There is this like radiation syndrome that prevents his cells from aging. So he just lives as a child. And apparently there's this bullet that can like give him poison that ages him. Like it stops the immortality effect, basically. His cells are like stuck in a time loop or something. It's very outlandish and crazy. But the message in the original, when you look at it, first of all, the title, Sympathy for the Devil. Well, this guy is a prick and he's done horrible things. But then you feel sympathy because he's been trapped like this and just wants a way to die. And it's poetic that he basically does what Spike ultimately wants as well. It's alluding to Spike also not being alive. Or in a different way, Spike is stuck in this mindset that he is constantly not alive. Whereas this guy is looking for death because he can't stop living. Spike is looking to see if he actually can live and get out of this mindset that he's already dead. And this polarity is fantastic. It's not, they don't tell you like right to your face, like, oh yeah, this is how I feel. No, when you watch the whole thing and go back, you see that's what they were doing. They show that to you in the conflict between the two characters and the way it's presented. And Spike doesn't show remorse in a way that it's sympathy, but it's a much deeper sympathy. It's like a sympathy like, I understand how you feel, and a part of me wants to join you. A part of me was already there, like, welcome to the club. Like, I've been dead for a long time, buddy. Welcome. Like, well, I'm a ghost too. Like, there's such deep connections, and I'm just talking about one fucking encounter in the original. One episode, right? You can kind of think about it, how it shows itself to you, what the main meat of the plot is. It doesn't spell it out ABC. Like the remake, where everything is fucking spelled out to you without asking any questions of any significance. This is the part that pissed me off. The remake removed any suspense or question asking. Question asking is vital to a compelling story. It is. Let's take classic characters. A lot of people would put Batman and the Joker on a very high pedestal in the term of the comic book verses. Like, why are these characters so beloved? Is it how they look, how they act? It's kind of a combination deal. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that these characters have a ton of conflict in their hearts. They are jaded and imperfect, and they don't always have the right answer, and they don't always know what they want. Although the Joker, the thing about him is he kind of makes the answers in his heart and goes with the situation. He's spontaneous. But then Batman is so calculating and within himself and non-spontaneous that the dynamic works perfectly, and it has worked. No matter how good or bad a Batman series is written, most of the time, if it involves the Joker and the Batman, it's at the very least entertaining and people connect to it. Because of that dynamic, it has existed the test of time. Look at the Cowboy Bebop remake. What the fuck were they doing with Vicious? What the fuck were they doing with Spike? And what the fuck were they doing with Julia? You're going to tell me that they were going to have Julia and Spike kill each other at the end of this? Is that what they were going to go for? Really? And then kiss one last time before they die in each other's arms? That, I swear to you, I think that's what they were going to be doing for the ending here. I'm so glad we'll never see it. Like, that in itself is fantastic. That we stopped that horrendous portrayal from happening. Or, Vicious saves Spike in the end and kills Julia. That's another thing that could have happened. Or Julia comes around in the end and helps Spike after doing all of this horrible shit, and then we have to somehow forgive her, and then she saves the fucking day. Those are the three outcomes that were possible with their rewrite, and it's just terrible. It's just fucking terrible. So, I feel bad. I feel bad for the team members of this show who lost their next career opportunity. You guys have your way in Netflix. Go find a different show. You can do it, but I feel bad. It sucks, right? It was just led by such trash leadership and such horrible direction. And if they wanted to make this so padded out, like people are arguing that the original had to be expanded upon because of duration. Okay, there's an easy way to do that, by the way. It's called world building. You don't need Vicious crying in front of the Syndicate. Just fucking show Vicious in his ship. You could have went all out showing us Vicious's living quarters, his domain that was kept hidden from us in the original. They show Vicious and Julia in the room together, and it's so awful. We should have seen Vicious doing his business on a ship where he's fucking in control and interrogating people and running people down and threatening people. We should have seen this from episode 3, 4, 5. You could have shown Vicious operating, being a vicious character. You could have hinted to Julia's involvement, but kept her off screen. We would have known that she's lurking in that sphere, but don't throw her on screen to get hype views or clicks, fucking impressions. Julia was literally sold for sexy appeal. Like, she's pretty, she's a good singer, she's independent, people are going to connect so great to her. You fucked it up. That's not Julia's role, and it never should have been Julia's role. You could have shown her playing music. Like, there could have been a moment where, like, or she's in the club for a moment, and then, like, Spike gets knocked out or some shit, or, like, just allude to it. Just show it a little bit. Don't throw her on screen every 5 minutes and ruin that appeal and mystique. So we know which vision is superior. At least the fans understand the good writing of the original and why it's beloved. New fans, it was split. Some thought it was actually okay, and they've never seen the original, and that's whatever. Like, that's just bound to happen. Philosophy versus pizzazz. I want to talk about, in general, like, why philosophy is fucking important and why we should not ignore it. Philosophy is very deep. No shit. But philosophy forces you to put yourself into a scenario. The answer is not there for you right away. You have to explore what you would do in that situation and the actions that you would take. You have to look at social systems and rules and expectations of your surroundings, of your society. Let's look at the philosophy, like, I don't know, Plato. You know, I believe Plato was the guy who basically created the sense that your life is an illusion. Now, I want to talk about the illusion principle because Spike literally was that in a way and should have been portrayed as such in the remake. He literally alludes to being a dreamer. He's dreaming. He's constantly dreaming, right? In the original, we see the dreaming aspect alluded to so much when he's facing, again, like Sympathy for the Devil. We see him pointing up to the star, the harmonica, and he's like, bang. It's like a nonchalant way of saying, you're a ghost now, just like me. Welcome to the afterlife. I'm trying to see if I can be reincarnated. There's so many deep reincarnation principles and like Buddhist mythology going on in the original. And Spike's just trying to figure out, is his carnation permanent? Is he just going to be a ghost forever? Is he literally just soulless and dead? And so when he comes across those moments, he has to look into himself and ask the questions. The show doesn't tell you exactly what he's feeling, but you can internalize that because you can put yourself into that role yourself and see the disdain, and you can sympathize with where Spike is in this situation because you understand the whole plot by this point. This is when you watch it a second time. Why is Bebop better the second time you watch it? Because you need to know the whole story from back to front. A good story makes you go back and look more into it. Always. That's a rule, no matter what. A good story will make you want to explore it more. And Bebop does that tremendously well. Rewatches of Bebop are extraordinary. It's some of the best rewatching I've ever seen. You know, there were parts when I was younger, when I was in like college, high school, college, when I was getting into the series for the first time, 15 years ago, I was really taken aback because this whole concept of reincarnation, I kind of got it back then, but then as I got older and watched it, I realized that reincarnation is fucking everywhere in this show. And it goes against, like, Vicious is portrayed kind of as Satan, kind of like the Grim Reaper, your death, your doom, your final hour. He is that presence in one's life, the specter of death. And because Spike can't get away from that specter of death, he's basically admitting that he is tied to his ultimate demise, and he will not run from it. So that dynamic is kept in there. Vicious pulls Spike back into darkness. That's what his goal and motivation is. That's why the flashbacks happen when Vicious shows up, because he is pulling Spike back into his past, into the darkness of his heart. That's what the original Vicious does. That's what the use of flashback does. That's why it's so compelling. That's why the flashbacks are in black and white, because it's a world devoid of color. It's empty. It's dark. Now, when Julia is shown, the use of light is included because she is a guardian angel, a bright spirit, something that gives Spike purpose. And so without that purpose, Spike goes back into the darkness. And he walks that line constantly where the darkness is always pulling at him, and then the flashes of light of Julia, they can make themselves known, and then all of a sudden, oh, now he has a motivation again. But then on top of that dynamic, you have the in the now plot, the Bebop crew, and you see how Spike, he's having a hard time accepting this reality. It's right there. He could take it. He could jump in, but he's having such a hard time accepting that. He's so stuck on that pathway of light and dark that comes from his past. He can't accept the present. It's right in front of him. And the reason that he can't accept the present is because one of his eyes always sees the past. So you need two eyes to see the full picture. That's the idea here. And that depth, I just went over something so deep. And it's just having to do with one aspect of the original show. It's probably the deepest, but it's one aspect of many, many aspects that you can analyze and look into. And then reincarnation is all over the place. Second chances, restarting, starting over from your mistakes. And that's all the characters basically have that going. They're trying to find a way to reincarnate themselves. But they're realizing that, fuck, man, my past makes who I am in a lot of ways. And just saying, start over, that's too painful. I can't just let go of what I was before. And they're really digging into that mindset. When Faye learns about who she is, it's only then Faye is fantastic in the original, right? Yeah, it's easy to say, like, okay, she's a gambling addict, she's desperate, she likes money, she plays tricks, whatever. She's a crafty, seductive bitch. I mean, you can go down the list. But when she learns about her missing past, when she learns that her current life is truly empty and her past has nothing left to give her, she then accepts the present. But it's a desperation all the way to the end. It was desperation from when she started, and it's desperation at the end. Faye finds her home, but she is so desperate to keep Spike around and ultimately fails to do so, we think. We think he dies at the end. Because this show was never meant to be happy. Oh, everyone's happy in the end. Let's throw confetti. Oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen. It's so wonderful. And, oh, we're all so excited and happy. No, everybody's in despair. The happiness comes through, but the despair is so powerful that they can't bring it into their hearts. It's like being an alcoholic. I always link this show to being on a substance. Like you're on a rehab program. You're trying to get out of a substance. That's how I look at the original show. Like all these characters, Ed's different. She's, younger, and that's still its own self-discovery story. But for the adults in the room, it is about letting go of something that you are so dependent on, your past, your substance, your ex-love that drives your fucking psyche. But it's like, it's a drug. It's a drug in the original. These characters are so tied to it. Now we look at the remake. And hey, welcome. I see people have joined. We go to the remake that is now canceled because the remake got rid of the suspense, the depth of the soul. Faye and Jet. Well, first of all, let's start with Jet. Jet, what the fuck did they do? Jet was a disgrace. Not the actor. Shakira did just fine. I thought actually that was about as good of a portrayal as Jet that we could have asked for. Like, kudos, man. But the writing, this guy has a fucking relationship that he's like somewhat still involved in and a daughter just to be used as a hostage. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Why does he have these self-interests still? If he was on the Bebop, he should have not had this in his life. Or he knows it's out there, but he can't even go see them. Like, the wall has been put up. This ship is a ghost ship. And so for me to return to the world of the living, I need to face my reality, my past. I must face it head on. It is the only way that I will get back to my life, my present. And then in the original, the answer isn't always good. It could be you face your past and you fail. Because failure is so realistic and it's a part of life. And failure can be a huge driver, not just success. So the remake goes way too hard into success. Yeah, Julia's an ex and is a bad person, but she's like finding it in herself to be the villain because she's like taking an opportunity. Like, what? It's so Americanized. Like, be strong, take the opportunity. You're like, fuck those around you. Like, put them under the bus. Julia is so shallow in this version. She's singing at the club. She's betraying people. Spike should have always been the gem in her heart. Vicious should have been the poison in her soul. And again, it was canceled. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm glad, like, we don't have to watch them fuck around with the ending because that ending is sacred. It's a sacred ending. We don't have to ever watch them fuck with it, at least for the foreseeable future, and remove the meaning of the ending. Again, if Julia killed Vicious in the end and then died to like a gunshot wound or something, died in Spike's arms, and then Spike is alive at the end, or if all three die together, I think all three of them would die together in the remake. If I was putting my money on the bet here, I bet Vicious, Spike, and Julia would be three enemies. Fuck me, man. And Julia, in the end, would help Spike. She'd pick Spike over Vicious. And then in the fighting, they all three of them basically die. But at least Julia picks Spike. Oh. First of all, that puts all of the choice making on Julia. and not really on Spike. And this is fucking Spike's story. Oh, but gotcha. It's actually Julia's story in our version. Like, oh man. But you know they would do something like that where it's just so fucking unnecessary. And we don't ever have to see that. So we can just enjoy the original. I mean, at least Netflix said, hey, here's the original and you can watch it, right? So great. Thumbs up. But I'm not surprised. I am surprised at how fast this was canceled. Like, that's just shocking. But that's what happens when you shove in generic bullshit into something sacred. And that's my take. So, guys, I'll see you around. Might upload a Smash video this week. I might have a lot going on, but I'll find an opportunity maybe to get some more Smash matches up. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll see you guys around the next video. Take care.